Hey, we're in the middle of COVID-19. It's tough in life right now, and it's also tough in ministry. Today, I want to give a few pointers, a little bit of advice on this issue of loneliness and ministry during this time of COVID-19. I know of two youth ministers during my 30 years of youth ministry who've both committed suicide. One was during ministry, one was a couple years after he had left ministry, but still took their life. As a youth minister, you've got people that are following you. You need to figure out a way to be healthy, to make sure that you stay in ministry, that you do what God wants. In the middle of all the struggles that we have as youth ministers, we got to figure out ways to pull together, to rely on the Lord, and to stay in ministry. Just some stats that I pulled. 13% of active pastors are divorced. 23% have been fired or pressured to resign at least once in their careers. 25% don't know where to turn when they have family or personal conflicts. 33% felt burned out within the first 5 years of ministry. And 1,500 pastors leave their ministries each month due to burnout, conflict, or moral failure. As I share a little bit today, also down in the description, there'll be a couple hotline numbers for you to be able to contact if you're in major, deep issues in this aspect of mental health. I also have a link to a message my pastor just did after this one youth minister had committed suicide. He shared with our congregation some issues about mental health, and I'll put that link to that message also there. I would encourage you, if you're in deep depression, that you look for opportunities, places to get help, to not just try to go it alone. Your ministry is worth it. I'm not a counselor, and today is not about formal counseling. Today is about you recognizing the aspect that at times you may need some help, and building a structure and a strategy where you can get some help, or where you'll have help on an ongoing basis. I want to help you find opportunities to build a structure that gives you encouragement in this lonely thing called ministry. Let me start with the fact that I have been asked to resign, and I remember the first church that I was really asked to resign. I remember I was in college. I remember laying on the bed, at the base of the bed, looking at my wife sitting at the headboard, and just telling her how that God had called me into ministry, and here I've been told I'm a failure. And how that I had been in management in the grocery store industry and had been very successful there, but in ministry was struggling, and how that struggle was hurting and putting pressure on me and feeling like a failure there. So I understand the ups and downs and the real lows at times in ministry. During my doctorate, there's usually a class in a D-Min program. We call it the Pastoral Health class. It has a bunch of different names. But that Pastoral Health class, the concept is for you to take a battery of tests and examine yourself in a lot of different ways, and to have one of the guys from the counseling department come in and chat with you and share with you. And I remember standing at a break table with three guys, and the three of us all there realizing during that break, after going through the battery of tests that we had, that a year earlier we were all clinically depressed. None of us had gotten help, but we were clinically depressed based on the pressures and things around ministry. So now you're here with COVID-19. In the process of that, half your teens or less are coming. I've got about a third of my teenagers coming on any given week to our student ministry. You probably tried, just like many of us, Zoom, and the Zoom calls have pretty much just ended. Hardly any students showing up, and in those earlier days thinking this is awesome, and then as it gradually dwindled, feeling like a failure. So many guys I talked to have found themselves where Zoom has quit working. Your calendar this summer was shot. You didn't get to go to camp. You didn't get to go to mission trip. You really weren't even sure what to plan. All those things had a major effect on you, because summer is one of those vital times for us in student ministry where we love hanging out with our students and not being in the office and spending camp and mission trips with our students. That went away. If you're an honest kind of person, you know you're tired. You know that you've been down during this time. I would say most of us have struggled if we didn't already have the connection points that we needed. We've struggled during this time of COVID-19 and separation. So besides the normal pressures of ministry, that's been magnified during this summer. You may find yourself anxious. You may find yourself not sleeping well. You may even find yourself at the edge of depression during this time. So what do you do? Once again, I'm not a counselor, but I just jotted down a few things that I wanted to share with you that may help. First thing I wanted to say is exercise some. Exercise is one of those harder things to do. If you're not an exerciser, if you're an exerciser, it's not so bad. But if you struggle with exercising, it's a little hard to do, to get up and do it. But get and do something, walk, jog, run, you know, play Wii games if you need to, but make sure you're exercising during that. Get some energy out and allow some endorphins to kind of kick into your system as you break out into a little bit of a sweat. I'd encourage you to start calendaring the best you can. I know I've calendared through December knowing that there could be some change, but I would encourage you to calendar. One youth minister I just met with recently, he's calendared through the year and already met with his parents. And it kind of challenged me, but he also told him it's a very tentative calendar because we don't know what's going on. But at least get a few months out where you're thinking and you're planning, you're beginning to strategize once again, as opposed to just kind of going week to week or 1 month to 1 month. By doing that, it's going to help you be better at what you're doing. It'd be better to be able to think. You'll be feeling more like you're connected again in the ministry. I would encourage you to attend your state and local youth meetings. So if you've got a local youth ministers meeting or a state youth ministers meeting, if they're meeting virtually on Zoom or they're meeting in person, that you would take time to make sure you're there, that you're a part of that you're connected in that way. And then I want to encourage you to get a buddy in town, a youth minister in town that you can connect with, a youth minister that you can have lunch with, preferably once a week, but you would find a youth minister that's willing to connect with you, that understands mental health. There's a need to be together for mental health. See, a couple of things we need to understand is your pastor is your pastor. He's not your friend. And you may have a pastor that's a good friend to you, but there's certain areas that you need to have within the structure of a friend that's a peer, that's doing the same thing as you day in and day out. And so that's why I encourage you to find another youth minister to meet with. Your spouse is your spouse. And even though I share tons with my spouse because we work together in youth ministry in so many ways, my wife is in youth ministry and an inner city ministry, there's still an aspect to where I still need some time that I share some things that I'm not quite ready to share with her. I need to process some things, and I don't need to drag her down in some of the pits of despair, so to speak, that I may have. And so I need to make sure that I'm connected to another youth minister on a regular basis. Make sure you get a same gender youth minister because you don't really want to complicate anything. So somebody who's the same gender as you working in youth ministry is who you want to get. Doesn't matter how many years they have or how many years you have. They really ought to be the same gender. And then set a time to do breakfast or lunch or dinner, whatever your schedule is. Set a time that you can meet with them on a regular basis, preferably once a week, once every other week. It'll be worth it in your ministry to be able to do that. No one was created for isolation in ministry. Even as God created Adam, he ended up creating Eve. God created us to have relationship with him, but also relationship with others. And I encourage you to develop that in youth ministry and don't do your youth ministry in isolation. If you take an hour or two, even if you do a 2-hour lunch once a week with this person, to where you extend your lunchtime, what you give to your wife, what you give to your ministry, what you give to your teens will be greatly enhanced by this time you spend. You already got to do lunch. All I'm saying is add to that then some extra time to invest in somebody else in a day-to-day kind of life or week-to-week kind of life where you're investing in their life, they're investing in yours. I would suggest that this not be a formal accountability group. That it's not like here's my 5 or 6 checklists, because my fear is this: if you do this as an accountability partner and you're going to ask, okay, how's your devotional life, how's your prayer life, when you have a rough week, you're not going to want to meet with this person. And I want this to be a friendship where you walk together. That concept of iron sharpening iron. So don't bring that level of accountability in. Accountability will naturally happen as you begin to trust each other and talk about life together. Then natural accountability will form out of that group if you continue this meeting with a youth minister. And I want to encourage you to let God guide you in this relationship. Look to him on how it develops, when to meet, the things you share. Who this person is that God's going to bring you to. I would encourage you to make those connections. So then you go, okay, Rick, you've sold me, so how do I begin? How do I start this thing? Well, the first thing you're going to have to do is just pick up the phone and call. Or if you have regular youth leader meetings for your denomination, maybe during there, grab one of the guys there, but you're going to have to approach somebody. And as you approach them, just be honest about what you want, that you want somebody to walk with you. You're not looking for a teacher. You're not looking for somebody who's going to guide you. You're not looking to guide somebody. You're looking to walk beside someone that you can build a relationship with that's going to honor and glorify the Lord as y'all work and stay together over the years. And if then you still run into trouble, ask a denominational leader. Grab one of your denominational leaders. Tell them what you want to do, sell them on it, and ask them to help you find a youth minister somewhere in your area that you could possibly meet with on a regular basis. I feel like this is what helps longevity in ministry. I feel like that I've been doing this 30-some years because I've cultivated and looked for relationships. I've not ran from relationships, but I've seen relationships as something to keep me fresh and keep me going. And so for me, this is something that's kept me going in youth ministry. Even when I was in a town where I drove 45 minutes to meet with a youth minister, the only other full-time youth minister was 45 minutes away from me, and we met on a fairly regular basis then. In my early days of ministry, I still cherish those times together that we could build relationship and could set up a time together. The next church I served in, I was the only full-time youth minister there in the area, but there were some part-time guys and some lay people, and I had to shift the time for us to meet to supper. And so instead of doing a lunch during office hours, I had to go out one night a month with these guys and hang out with them and encourage them and be encouraged by them, building relationships with them. So it may be that it's a once a month because that's all you can do. It could be every week. It may have to be a supper lunch. It could be a breakfast time. But I would encourage you, don't let this go. There's a guy out here in Virginia. He used to be in the Roanoke Valley, who, when he came to the valley to his first church, he went to a youth event, and at that youth event he looked around the room, and this was his first church, and so he said he had decided he was going to try to find somebody who would mentor him. He looked around the room and found the oldest guy, which happened to be me. In that process, he asked me if I would mentor him, and my response to him was, no, I won't mentor you, but I will walk with you. I said, we can meet once a week. We got to do lunch anyway. Let's meet once a week to talk, to do life together, to pray together, to spend time together. Let's just hang out together and let's see where God takes us. That's the kind of meeting I'm talking about. Something that's not so formal. It's not a book. You're looking for whatever God's got for you. And I would encourage you to look for who that group is, how that group's made, Lord, and just allow God to minister and work in that situation. If you do that, you'll come back a year from now and you'll think about this video and you'll be so glad that you took time to invest in your own mental health and spiritual development in this way of having somebody connect to you. Once again, don't forget the links that are down at the bottom. Feel free to make some comments about this video in whatever way, things that may have encouraged you, that may have helped you survive hard times during youth ministry, be an encouragement to others. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love to have you subscribe. The focus of the channel is just, I'm a youth minister with 30+ years experience, just sharing from the heart on a once a week basis to other youth ministers. And I would love to have you subscribe to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time.